हेलो हेलो और कैसे हैं आप लोग? वेलकम. आइए खाना खा के जाना. That's what they say on khichdi, right? Anyway, welcome you guys to the Sham Sharma Show podcast. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone's keeping healthy, eating well, and all of that fun stuff. So we've got look, a lot of things to talk about today, and we'll get into them. But the first thing I obviously wanted to talk about today was some lessons that we learned during the week. And we did learn some very important lessons during this entire week, this entire last week and early this week as well. The first lesson that we've learned is that the most controversial and the most hateful thing that you can do in India is ask people politely to donate for the construction of the Ram Mandir. That's the most impolite, that's the most horrible thing apparently now that you can do. And we've seen multiple examples and horror stories of this kind of fascism in action, essentially. So many accounts have come forward where they've said that people have come to their door asking for donation for the Ram Mandir. I was shaking for a full 5 minutes afterwards. Just imagine. I honestly, I hope she's okay. I hope that somebody asked politely if she can donate for the Ram Mandir, and it upset someone so much that they were shaking for 5 minutes. I do genuinely hope that they're okay. And nobody is safe. Nobody is safe from this kind of, toxic Hindutva. Another person who's feeling extremely unsafe with people politely asking for donations for the Ram Mandir is everyone's favorite historian, Ramchandra Guha. He's saying Ram Temple fundraisers leave behind stickers on doors, sparking fear and concern. Bataiye, this is true. This is true fascism. This is what we're living in. Stickers on doors. Because that's what the Nazis used to do, remember? The Nazis used to leave stickers and pamphlets and used to politely ask for donations. That's what ISIS used to do. ISIS used to leave stickers on people's doors. They used to leave pamphlets in front of people's doors. They used to politely ask them if they would like to donate for the construction of some kind of mosque somewhere. That's what they did essentially with the Yazidis. Anybody who's telling you different is essentially lying. That's what essentially happened with ISIS. They used to just leave pamphlets and stickers. And that's what used to essentially happen. And people gave them a bad name. And that's the exact same thing that is happening in India as well now. So the moral of the story here is that the most important thing that has happened in India recently is this: people asking for donations for the Ram Mandir. And the second moral of the story is that peaceful donation drives and leaving stickers and pamphlets in front of people's homes is the same thing as domestic terrorism. That's the world that we're living in, and that is the reality of Hindutva today. And obviously, as you can see, I'm also shaking. And I'll continue to shake for the next 5 minutes in solidarity with the people who are also shaking when people ask them politely for donations. And obviously, this, like I said, this is the big crime that we're finding in the country right now. But there was also a small incident recently where a man named Rinku Sharma died in Delhi's Mongolpuri area recently. Now, what has been very interesting again is the kind of reaction that we have seen to a murder like that, to a death like that. And this is what happens when you create this kind of an atmosphere, that people politely asking me for donations for the Ram Mandir is somehow such a act of fascism that I'm shaking for 5 minutes afterwards, and that leaving pamphlets and stickers is such a terrible thing, because you're creating an atmosphere where you're creating a great amount of animosity towards this movement. towards a movement that has brought so many people a sense of justice, a sense of joy. For literally hundreds and hundreds of years, the Indian people and the Indian civilization, they have felt that they've only lost things. कि वो सिर्फ चीजों को हारे हैं, उनको कभी भी कुछ वापस नहीं मिला है. And for the first time in so many centuries, Indian people have felt like, चलो एक पहली चीज हमें ये जो हमारी कल्चरल चीज थी, हमारी जो कल्चरल विरासत थी, that we have lost, finally we have gained something back. This should be a moment of happiness for everybody, not just for Hindus, but for the entire Indian civilization. Every single cultural group or religious group living in India, they should be happy that something that was lost so many centuries ago has been regained. But no, we've created the exact opposite atmosphere. We've created an atmosphere that getting that thing back for the Indian civilization is somehow an act of great fascism. So as a result of that, we see people and opinions like this. This is a lady, Tanzila Anis, who used to work for Ghana.com. She said after the murder, the Bajrang Dal activists, that's it. That's the tweet. So what happened to him was completely deserved. What happened to him completely does not deserve our empathy, our sympathy in any way whatsoever, because so-and-so guy was a Bajrang Dal activist. And I'm getting a lot of comments about collab with string. भाई अभी के अभी करूं, टाइम लगता है ना इन सब चीजों में, बुलाना पड़ेगा शो पे, वो शो पे आएगा, वो सब चीजें भी तो करनी पड़ेंगी. आपके कमेंट करने से मैं क्या करूं? If you keep commenting collab with string, the moderator will have no choice but to ban you. So don't stop spamming. आपने suggest कर दिया, मैंने उस suggestion को on board लिया है, and I will deal with that suggestion, as and when string has time available. We'll figure something out. But if you keep spamming, then people will have no idea, no option but to ban you. So if you want to suggest something, please go ahead and suggest something. But don't spam, because then we'll have to get rid of you. All right? All right. So again, it's not only just that comment, but it's more than that. You look at the general level of discourse of this madam towards the Hindu community. Look at the kind of comments. I can't read out most of these comments because I'll most likely get kicked off of YouTube, or my channel or my video would get demonetized. But look at the comments that are being made about Shiva. Look at the comments that are being made about Hindus. Look at this is must outrage on why more men are chefs, more women are porn stars, and more Hindus exist in India. And comments about Sita. Comments about Sita again, comments about Duryodhan and Draupadi, comments about Krishna, and obviously love for Pakistan that kind of comes. You kind of take that for granted when you see comments like this anyway. So just think about it for a second. Imagine if the religions were switched, what would have happened? Imagine the level of insults that you're seeing over here. Imagine if the religions were switched, what would happen? And that's the difference. That's the fundamental difference between the two communities at the moment. More often than not, there are obviously some exceptions. These are exceptions that prove the norm. But more often than not, you'll see that when you say something against Hindus or the Hindu religion, what will happen in India is people will scream and people will shout and people will abuse and people will threaten on social media. But at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen, and people are going to forget about it and they're going to move on to the next bloody outrage. But what happens if the religions are switched? If the religions are switched, the outcome is completely different, completely and utterly different. And that's the big difference at the moment between the two communities. One acts, one only shouts and screams on social media. And I would much rather have people have shouting and screaming on social media than actual cause physical violence to people over words that they may not like, or words that they may consider hurtful. So let's talk about the current case. Let's talk about the Rinku Sharma case and what precisely happened in that case as well. So when we're talking about the Rinku Sharma case, he's a guy from Mangolpuri in Delhi, and police have a different version of what has happened, and the family has a very different version of what has happened. So I'm going to try and give you both the versions, and then I'm going to try and tell you what I think about it. Right. So what has happened in the Rinku Sharma case is the police have now come out and said. So let me share the screen of what the police has said initially. So the police initially immediately came out and said that on 10/2/21, a scuffle ensued during a birthday party in the area of Mangolpuri, following which victim Rinku Sharma got injured in a stabbing, who later succumbed to injury during treatment. A case under relevant sections was registered and all 4 accused were arrested. So far, the case is under investigation, and it has surfaced that quarrel started during a birthday party over shutting down of a restaurant. All persons are known to each other and live in the same locality. Any other motive other than the scuffle and the quarrel that started during the birthday party is factually wrong. That is what the police are saying. And the family's take is very different, which I'll tell you in a second. But essentially, the police has also said that it was because of a birthday party and an argument had broken out between the victim and the accused over their food joint business in Rohini, in Delhi. But Rinku's family said that they do not have any kind of food business. They're not involved in any kind of food business. So there's a discrepancy between the statements of the police and the family right there. The people who are involved and the people that are accused are namely Tajuddin, Islam, Jahid, Mehtab, Nasruddin, Nasruddin's wife Shama and his 2 brothers, Mehtab's father and Shama's 2 brothers, who got together, went to Rinku's house and attacked Rinku. And the family of the accused, this is what the family of the accused are saying. Let me share their comments as well, so we can get a well-rounded perspective of what everybody involved in this entire situation is saying. Zakir Hussain, who's the uncle of the accused Islam, said that, we aren't anti-Hindu like the media and Rinku Sharma's families are showing. In fact, I work closely for the Ram Mandir donation drive and have met various BJP ministers. We wanted the Ram Mandir to be built, Zakir Hussain said, sharing photos of him with BJP leaders Shahnawaz Hussain and Ravi Shankar Prasad. The wife of one of the accused also claimed that the families celebrated Holi and Diwali together and even ate prasad after puja from Rinku's family. We're extremely apologetic that the Sharma family has lost their son, but there's no communal angle here. For a few persons' fault, the entire community should not be targeted. Now, these are the statements of the police and the statements of the family, of the accused family. But the statements of the family of the victims are very different. So Swarajya and Swati Goyal Sharma went to the scene, went on the ground to talk to the family of Rinku Sharma. And this is what the family had to say. The brother of Rinku Sharma, who spoke to the media after Rinku's death, shows him saying that the Muslim group had been after the family ever since a spat broke out over a recent rally for Ram Temple. The mother was speaking to Sudarshan News, who said that the son died over chanting Jai Shri Ram. She said, Jai Shri Ram ke chakkar mein mar gaya mera bachcha. She's also seen telling the channel that the family would object to Jai Shri Ram slogans raised outside their house. The father, Ajay Sharma, also told the channel, Sudarshan TV, that he died for being a Modi supporter and a Ram Bhakt. So all of these statements that are coming from the family do not look like there was a scuffle or it was over some kind of a birthday party or anything like that. Even if you look at the statement, the handwritten statement that Rinku Sharma's brother provided to the police, you will see that he said that Rinku was an active participant in fund collection drives for Ram Temple construction in Ayodhya. He would also attend the Hanuman Chalisa recitation at the local market regularly on Tuesdays, and that was one of the reasons why he had been targeted. All of these people had come to his house, and even in the handwritten note here, in the handwritten FIR provided to the police, they have also said that those family had said ki bhai dekh lenge tumko ek din future mein aake. So this is the situation where we're at right now. We're at a situation where the police is saying something and the family is saying something completely different. So what has happened at this point is that this case has been assigned now to the crime branch for further investigation. So the police has come out and said that we're going to be looking into it in a lot more detail, and the facts of the matter and what the what the truth is of the matter will be determined. Now, this is obviously very funny to me, because the reaction to the Rinku Sharma case and the reaction to other cases where the victims have been from a slightly different religion, they very perfectly illustrate the kind of hypocrisy that we live with in India over cases like this. Because look, I also believe that it's very important for the police to conclude its investigation. आप investigation पूरा कीजिए. Investigation में क्या facts निकल कर आते हैं, वो facts जल्दी से जल्दी आप public को बताइए, ताकि इस मामले को, इस ugly incident को, we can put it behind us. Right? This is what we all want. That investigate what the family is saying and give us the facts. So hopefully the crime branch investigation can give us that. But what's very interesting is that we suddenly believe in the police. We suddenly believe in the law and order process. We suddenly believe in the due course of the law when the victim is from a Hindu community. Right? Everybody is now saying that, "Arey, ruk jao, let us get the facts first. Police kya keh rahi hai, wo to humko pehle pata kar lene do. Let us know the facts first before we make any decision about whether this was religiously motivated or not." But this is very different from couple of years ago, when the media had reported on a few, such circumstances and such incidents involving Muslims. And then the reaction of the media, the reaction of the intelligentsia was very different. Then they did not want to wait for what the police had to say. Then they did not want to listen to what the police had to say at all. Tab bhaiya situation badi different thi. This is the narrative that we were being fed at that moment. Let me share this video with you, because I think everybody needs to watch this video. This was the narrative that was being shared at that point.
Yeah. फिक्र होती है अपनी औलाद के बारे में सोचकर, क्योंकि मेरा ये मानना है कि अच्छाई और बुराई का मजहब से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है.
Kiran and I have lived all our lives in India. For the first time, Kiran says, "Should we move out of India?" Now, that's a disastrous and very big statement for Kiran to make to me. She fears for her child. She fears for, what the atmosphere around us will be.
तो मुसलमान नहीं कहा, उन्होंने कहा कि मुसलमान, ईसाई और दलित. तो इसमें गलत क्या है? सच्चाई को उन्होंने बयान किया. क्या प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने नहीं कहा कि गौ रक्षा के नाम पर मत मारो? क्या टारगेट नहीं किया जा रहा है मुसलमानों को?
These are the kinds of statements that were made. This video is from Atul Ahuja, so shout out to Atul Ahuja. These were the kind of statements that were being made at that time. Ke bhai, we don't care what the police has to say. We know that these attacks, whatever has happened to these Muslim people, these attacks are 120% religiously motivated. There's nothing you can say that is going to change our minds. Right? You might remember the Tabriz Ansari case. The Tabriz Ansari case has happened where police had very clearly stated that the reason Tabriz Ansari was attacked was because he was caught by people stealing. And as a result of that, people had caught him and people had beaten him up. This was the entire case of Tabriz Ansari, if you don't remember. That people had caught him, people had beaten them up, and then a few days later, he had died in jail. That was the facts that the police has established, but people were not interested in listening to those facts. Immediately, this was painted as communally motivated. Immediately, this was painted as religiously motivated. ये तो communal lynching है, ये हिंदुओं ने lynch कर दिया है क्योंकि ये लड़का मुसलमान था. That was the entire edifice of the argument that was created. Right? And immediately, you had organizations, respectable news organizations like NDTV. Immediately, NDTV had done a bunch of videos on Tabriz Ansari. कि भाई Tabriz Ansari को क्यों मारा, मामले में आरोप हल्के क्यों, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में लिंचिंग पर दिशा निर्देश क्यों नहीं दिए. All of those things. Immediately, हमारे जो बवासीर कुमार हैं, what's his name? विडम्बना कुमार. No. रवीश कुमार. रवीश कुमार had come out और उन्होंने बोला कि भाई ये तो लिंचिंग है, इसमें तो और कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता, ये तो भाई रिलीजियसली मोटिवेटेड लिंचिंग है, इसमें तो और कोई रीजन हो ही नहीं सकता. जुनैद का केस भी आपको याद होगा, है ना, जुनैद के केस में भी ये काफी इंटरनेशनल हुआ था, ये केस भी, जहां पर एक लड़का था जिसको ट्रेन की सीट के ऊपर लड़ाई हुई थी, और इस वजह से कुछ लोगों में लड़ाई हुई थी और एक जुनैद नाम के लड़के की मौत हो गई थी। उसमें भी मैजिस्ट्रेट ने बोला था, मैजिस्ट्रेट ने आकर बोला था, पुलिस ने बोला कि इसमें हमने कोई रिलीजियस एंगल नहीं पाया है, दिस इज फ्रॉम opindia.com। पुलिस ने बोला कि हमने कोई रिलीजियस एंगल नहीं पाया है। मैजिस्ट्रेट ने बोला कि भैया इसको इन्वेस्टिगेट करने के बाद इसमें कोई भी रिलीजियस एंगल नहीं मिला है। एट द एंड ऑफ द डे हमें क्या मिला है कि ये दो लड़कों की सीट के ऊपर लड़ाई हुई है ट्रेन में, और उससे उस लड़ाई के अंदर इस लड़के की मौत हो गई है। दिस इज व्हाट हैज हैपेंड, बट नोबडी वांटेड टू लिसन टू द पुलिस एट दैट पॉइंट, राइट? Everybody wanted to create their own narrative. Everybody wanted to talk about कि भैया how this is a religiously motivated lynching and hashtag not in my name, please don't kill people in my name, ये हिंदुत्व सुप्रीमेसी यहाँ पर नहीं चलेगी, प्लीज बचा लो हमको हिंदुत्व सुप्रीमेसी से। न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स were writing hundreds of articles, Time magazine, all those, what do you call, India Spend, when they created their entire hate crime tracker, which eventually got shut down. India Spend also included Junaid's killing or Junaid's lynching in its hate crime tracker. And this hate crime tracker then was used by every single major left-wing media organization outside of India to paint India in a negative light, to paint the Hindu community in a negative light. अब आप बताइए ना मुझे, उस समय we did not want to wait कि भाई नहीं पुलिस क्या कहती है ये सुन लेते हैं, मैजिस्ट्रेट क्या कहता है ये सुन लेते हैं, लेट द लॉ टेक इट्स कोर्स। नहीं, उस समय हमको वी आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन लेटिंग द लॉ टेक इट्स कोर्स। उस समय पे हमको अपना ओपिनियन दे देना है, उस समय पे हमको हिंदुत्व फैशिज्म पेंट कर देना है। बट यहां पे वी हैव टू लिसन टू व्हाट इवन विद द फार्मर्स प्रोटेस्ट मैन। अभी फार्मर्स प्रोटेस्ट का आप एग्जांपल ले लीजिए ना। फार्मर्स प्रोटेस्ट में व्हेन देयर वाज दैट tractor rally that was organized, and there was one tractor that had flipped and a guy had died after that tractor had flipped. What happened then? The police had said, हमारे पास वीडियो था, there was CCTV video. The police had said कि भैया ये CCTV में हम देख सकते हैं, और हमने भी देखा है इन्वेस्टिगेट करके इस मामले को, कि लड़के का ट्रैक्टर पलट गया और ट्रैक्टर के नीचे he got crushed and he died of those injuries. बट वहां पर भी हमारे जर्नलिस्ट थे जो बोलने लगे कि देखिए देखिए इसको गोली मार दी है। The Caravan had immediately published an article despite all the overwhelming proof, और Caravan के बारे में हम थोड़ी देर में भी बात करेंगे, तो stick around because I want to talk about the Caravan a little bit more. तो Caravan had said कि देखिए ये तो पुलिस ने मार दिया है। Eye witnesses are saying that the police has shot him. कौन eye witness है? कुछ नहीं बताया हमें। कैसे उनको पता? कुछ नहीं बताया हमें। नेशनल हेरल्ड, जो कि भैया सीधे सीधे माउथ पीस है कांग्रेस गवर्नमेंट का, उसने भी बोल दिया one killed with police firing at protest site at ITO during farmers tractors rally. तो भैया इन सारे सिचुएशंस में हमको इंटरेस्ट नहीं है बिल्कुल भी कि पुलिस की बात सुने, लेकिन इस मामले में, रिंकू शर्मा के मामले में भैया लेट द लॉ टेक इट्स कोर्स, लेट पीपल लेट द मैजिस्ट्रेट से व्हाट प्रूफ दे हैव फाउंड. So the moral of the story again here is that police are lying, and we cannot trust the police when the victim is from an inconvenient community. If the victim is from an inconvenient community, then it has to be a religious angle. It has to be religiously motivated. It has to be Hindutva fascism. But in cases where the victim is from the Hindu community, then we can wait. Then we must wait. Then we must not jump to conclusions. Then we must wait for the police to reach, the end of its investigation. All of this is being done to create the argument that only Hindutva extremism exists in India. Because बाकी cases में हम अगर मानने लगेंगे कि भैया दूसरी communities में भी extremism होता है, then this sole Hindutva extremism thing completely collapses. Completely and utterly collapses. Dhruv Gowda is asking, how do we stop this? Look, man, the only way to stop this is, again, I've spoken about this on the show before. I've talked about this on the podcast with Kushal before as well, that the only way that you can stop something like this is by creating strong institutions of your own, strong media entities of your own. So if there are media entities, if there are content creators, if there are, journalists that you really like, that you want to support, then support them financially, help them build a very successful infrastructure that can then rival the infrastructure that has been built over the past 70 years in Lutyens, Delhi. That is the only way. Financially support and make viable a bunch of journalists, content creators, news media organizations, research institutions. ऐसे बनता है ecosystem. Ecosystem ऐसे नहीं बनता कि हमेशा that ecosystem has to work together. The ecosystem is built when there are a bunch of people who are working towards similar goals, who might not be working necessarily together, but they're working towards a similar goal. They're all successful. They're all financially successful. They're all financially viable. And then that creates sort of a united voice that is, working towards debunking old false narratives and towards creating their own narratives, their new narratives. That is the only way to stop this. And obviously, the other way to stop this is there's criminal negligence. Then you can always sue these people. I think suing people is a viable option to take. But in my opinion, it should not be criminal. In my opinion, it should be a civil lawsuit where you get a bunch of money out of them. That's the other way of doing it. So this is the moral of the story. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is somebody had a photo that they shared on social media and that I want to share with you guys as well. But before I do that, I want to show you probably the most amazing kind, I suppose, of false equivalency. Let me see if I can find that tweet. That it was right here somewhere, but it was an absolutely amazing tweet. Oh yeah, here we go. This is from Arfa Khanumji. And this shows the point that I was trying to make initially about how there's a different reaction depending on which community or which religion does the victim belong to. This is a perfect example of that. This is a tweet from Chacha Monk at Old School Monk. He's sharing Arfa Khanum's reaction after each. After Rinku Sharma case, heinous murder of Rinku Sharma is deplorable. To ensure justice, the case should be probed from all angles, including allegations by the family. But disgusted to see communalization of this horrific murder. Hey, Bhagwan. For right wing, everything is just an opportunity for their hateful agenda. And what happens when the victim is from another community? It's very important to underline the religion when someone is being lynched because of his religion. If you don't know the problem, then you can't solve it. Dude, honestly, it would be bloody hilarious if it wasn't so goddamn sad. We're only allowed to ask who killed someone when they're from an inconvenient community. How did Nikita Tomar died? We're not allowed to ask that because apparently aliens killed them. Just like aliens killed Rinku Sharma, just like aliens killed Charlie Hebdo, just like aliens killed Samuel Paty in France, just like aliens killed Theo Van Gogh, just like aliens killed Yazidis. They've all been killed by aliens. We have no idea where they came from. And this was a very poignant photo that I saw that somebody had shared. This was from Lala_the Dawn. He had made a collage of people that had been killed in such incidents, and he had deliberately left two blank spaces right at the end that you can see over here as well, because he said that if the situation continues like this, where we have this selective questioning of such events, then these kinds of incidents will not stop in the future. Tomorrow it will be someone else. This is not going to stop unless we tackle the bull by the horns, or we grab the bull by the horns, or we bell the cat, so to say. We absolutely need to fix the law and order situation in this country. That is absolutely paramount. And the second thing is, it doesn't matter, who the victim is, and it doesn't matter who the community of the perpetrator is. If we want justice across the board, which is what we should all want, then every single incident like this needs to be tackled. We can't be running away from it. We can't be running away from the reason why such people got killed. That is the only way to solve it. Running away from it, hiding from it is not going to solve it, because If we keep running away from it, if we keep hiding from it, then tomorrow these two blank spaces, they'll also get filled. And we will have nobody else to blame but ourselves for not acting and for not questioning sooner. And look, guys, another thing that I want to talk to you about, look, even though I want, the police to do its investigation and for the truth to come out, for the fact of the matter to come out, I do really think that we should wait for the police to conclude its investigation. But I did want to point out this hypocrisy that has existed for a very long time. And I'm sure a lot of you people might be wondering, ki, yaar, a family has lost their kid, a family has lost a breadwinner. Is there something that we can do to support them? And as far as I can see, the world is going to move on to the next outrage in the next couple of weeks. People are going to forget about Rinku Sharma, whether we like it or not. This is going to happen. But that family, Rinku Sharma's family, is going to suffer for a very, very, very long time. So I think it's important that we do our part and we try to support them in whatever way we can. So there've been two crowdfunding campaigns that have been organized for Rinku Sharma and for his family. One of them have been organized by Seva Nyay Utthan, which is this one right here. I'll leave the links in the description of this video as well. So this is the first one. This has been organized by Seva Nyay Utthan. Oh, I'm sorry. This has been organized by Vaishali Poddar. And I think, Kapil Mishra and Vaishali Poddar have both gotten together to create some funding and to raise a bunch of money for Rinku Sharma's family. They've reached 85% of their goal already. So the co-campaigner is Kapil Mishra and the beneficiary is the family of Rinku Sharma. So this fundraiser is to support the family of Rinku Sharma, the activist who was lynched in Delhi. Rinku Sharma stood up for his dharma. He leaves behind his family with his parents and his brother. Please support. So there's almost 10,000 people that have supported already. So if you'd like to contribute and help his family out, help make them economically secure, then please go to this link. This is Crowdcash, support family of Rinku Sharma. You can go to Kapil Mishra's Twitter account as well. And you'll see that there's a Crowdcash campaign over there. There's a link to that as well. So if you want to go and support his family, you can do that over there. So again, like I said, his family is going to suffer for a very long time. So the least we can do, at least, is help them get through such a hard time. Anish Joshi had a question. Thoughts on the String video debunk? Which one are you talking about, Anish? Are you talking about the video that String made, or the video that like Dhruv Rathi and Akash Banerjee's tattoo, whatever his name is, he made on the String video? Like, which one are you talking about? If you're talking about the rebuttal that those two guys made to the String video, I haven't watched it. I'm going to watch it today, and I might make a response video to that as well, but I haven't seen it yet. I watched a little bit of the String video, and I think I've already given my thoughts on it in the last podcast that I did with Kushal. So let me know which one you're specifically talking about. All right. The second thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was, recently, it was 14th of February. It was Valentine's Day. I hope a lot of you guys had a good time on Valentine's Day. But it was also the Boom Live Dhruv Rathi one. Okay. No, I haven't seen that, Anish, but I'm going to watch it today. I'm going to try and watch that video today for sure. And I might do a rebuttal to that. I might do a response to that if I feel like it warrants a response. So I'm going to check it out today. All right. टूलकिट धालीवाल ने बनाया था, इसका कोई प्रूफ है क्या? अरे यार, टूलकिट में Ask India Why and the Poetic Justice Foundation has been repeatedly mentioned. That Ask India Why and that website has been repeatedly mentioned. That Ask India Why website has been created by the Poetic Justice Foundation. And the Poetic Justice Foundation has routinely supported Khalistani elements. They supported the attack on the Red Fort and all of those things over and over again. So there's a very clear hand. You can very clearly connect the dots of the involvement of PJF with the toolkit as well. Please mass report. Yaar, mass report kar denge. Just stop spamming. If you spam, you'll get blocked. You'll get put in timeout or you'll get blocked. So please make sure not to spam. All right. Okay. So the second thing I wanted to talk about, obviously, is the other thing that happened on 14th of February last year in 2019 was the Pulwama attack, where a terrorist had attacked a CRPF procession, and 40 CRPF Jawans had lost their lives. So I would like to just take a second to remember them. And I would also like to think that, their sacrifice, the sacrifice that they did for their country, had a role to play in the abrogation of Article 370, had a role to play in the reintegration, hopefully, of Jammu and Kashmir, and the reintegration of entire Jammu and Kashmir, not just the part that's administered by India at the moment, of the entire Jammu and Kashmir. I hope that their sacrifice will be honored by the full integration of the state of Jammu and Kashmir into India. And I want to obviously take this time and thank those brave people for their sacrifice and remember them. But at the same time that we are remembering these brave people for the sacrifices that they have made for this country, there are also some people that want to profit from it. There are also some people that have so much hate, so much disregard for India, so much hate for India, so much hate for Hindus, so much hate for India's native culture, native heritage, native civilization, that they just can't help themselves. So Caravan magazine, we talked about Caravan magazine in the previous section as well, that they were the ones that were spreading a lot of this fake news that the police had shot the protester that had got crushed under his own tractor. Caravan replugged. So this was the article that they had shared right after the Pulwama attack had happened. And they very recently shared this article again on the anniversary of that Pulwama attack, that the CRPF Jawans who were killed in the Pulwama attack were predominantly lower caste. Only 5 out of 40 Jawans, or 12.5%, came from the Hindu upper caste families, Ajaz Ashraf reports. I'm just going to leave that there for a second so people can really install this in their brains properly about what Caravan is trying to do here, right? And what's amazing about this article is when you read this article, you get an idea of the kind of things that they did, right? If you read the article, you'll find out how they found out the caste of the dead soldiers. So remember, this was right after the attack had happened. The families had just been notified. All the families had gotten the worst news of their lives, that unke jo family members hain, they are no more. Their sons, their brothers, their fathers, their husbands who had left their homes to serve their country, they had unfortunately passed away. At that time, they called the family members of these dead soldiers and asked them what the caste of their dead sons, brothers, fathers, and husbands was. Imagine you're a grieving family member and some elite journalist, right when you've gotten the worst news of your life, some elite journalist from Lutyens Delhi calls you and they're like, "Aapke bete ka caste kya hai? Jara ye bataiye, upper caste tha ya lower caste tha? Dalit tha, reservation mili thi usko." Like, just imagine being the journalist and imagine being a human being that makes that phone call so quickly right after this incident to the family members of these soldiers. Imagine being the editor that approves the publication of such an article. And finally, imagine being the media cabal and the intelligentsia that shared this article, that applauded this, that said, yes, very good, dekhiye. A lot of the people who have died are Dalits. Dekhiye, dikha diya na humne. We have showed the Hindu society, ye, wo. Just think about it for a second. How heartless and how much of an asshole you have to be to do that. But thankfully, a lot of people also did not take the bait. I think Navdeep Singh had a very good response to this as well. He said, "This is absolutely ridiculous. You think uniformed personnel are posted in disturbed areas based on their caste? I would understand a stance questioning any government in power on various security issues, which is very much required. But this is plain self-invented gobbledygook." And that's exactly what it is. It is completely and utterly self-invented gobbledygook. And this is not the first time that they have done this. ये इन्होंने पहले भी बहुत बार किया है. Remember the article about the farm protest, right? The tractor protest. That's what they had done. Another thing that they had done is just check out their cover of this magazine. How upper caste invented a Hindu majority. You can see the cover. The cover is of a apparently Brahmin man. And the idea here is that just like the anti-Semitic tropes that you used to see, right? That Jews control the world, Jews control all the money, Jews control all the banks, that kind of stuff. We are seeing the same kind of anti-Brahmin content here as well, that Brahmins somehow control the entire country. Brahmins somehow control every single aspect, all the banks, and every single aspect of Indian society is controlled by the Brahmins. This is very similar to the kind of like anti-Semitic cartoons and content that we used to see from the far right. This is the kind of stuff that we used to see. This is the kind of stuff that we used to see. Look at this. Look at these cartoons. These are all cartoons that were made about the Jews by the far right. And you'll see that they have similarities. Look at this. You'll see that they very clearly have similarities with the kind of cover that the Caravan drew. Very, very clear similarities, right? But when these kinds of cartoons are made about the Jews, these are obviously called anti-Semitic. So these should be also called anti-Hindu, because that's very clearly what they are. They'd also written a very interesting article about Tulsi Gabbard back in the day. You might remember this came out last year, and some influential politician in America had also shared this article. It was called All in the Family, the American Song's Affair with Tulsi Gabbard. And the basic premise of their argument was that the reason Tulsi Gabbard is a fascist is because some people who have Hindu-sounding names have donated to her campaign. And Hindu-sounding names in America have also donated to the Sangh, the RSS, which means Tulsi Gabbard is a RSS puppet. That was the extent of their argument. And eventually the guy who had shared the article also had to apologize for what he had written. But this is where we are. This is the kind of journalism that this bloody trash can of a magazine does. And I didn't even want to talk about this article in any way. But the kind of, I thought I would share it with you, and I thought I would talk about this with you. Simply because even within the article, they think they're making a very good point. They think they're doing amazing research, but they're not really. Even the points that they're making in the article are completely wrong and completely flimsy, and it completely exposes them rather than any people within the Hindu community. So I want to talk about those things with you really quickly as well. And the first thing I really like, though, is the CRPF's response to it. The CRPF's response to it was also very, very good. They said, I think this is from, this is the one, from Moses Dinakaran, who's the DIG of the CRPF. He said, "We in the CRPF identify ourselves as Indians, not more, not less. This pathetic divisiveness of caste, color, and religion doesn't exist in our blood. You should strictly refrain from insulting all the martyrs. They're not statistics for your demeaning and meaningless write-ups." So it's a very good response from the CRPF. And obviously, if you look at this article, one of the points that this article makes initially is that statistically, when we look at the people who had been martyred in Pulwama, if we look at their castes, there are very few Brahmins in the people who had died, which means that Brahmins are selfish and Brahmins are not patriotic. Brahmins don't really care about India. They just want lower caste to go and die for their country, and they just want to control the country. That's all they want to. That was the argument that was being made. Well, according to that, if we go by that same logic, then Mr. Ajaz Ashraf, who had done this research, in his research, he had found that among the dead, there was only one Muslim. Even fewer Muslims died than Hindu Brahmins, which means that according to his research, right? According to his research, Muslims are the least patriotic people in the country. Oopsie. Now, again, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not making that point at all. All right. Ajaz Ashraf is trying to make that point, that judging by the number of people dead, we determine who is patriotic and who isn't. So by that logic, Muslims should be the least patriotic people in the country. And that is why this kind of data doesn't convey the reality, because obviously there are millions and millions of extremely patriotic Muslims in the country, right? I'm currently reading a book that was written by one of such patriotic Muslims called Hamid Dalwai. And I would really recommend that everybody read Hamid Dalwai's books. Go search Hamid Dalwai on Google, read his books. They're absolutely fantastic. But there is a reason that you create research like this. There is a reason that you create narratives like this. And the reason that the Caravan is creating narratives like this and other people support the Caravan when it creates narratives like this is because they feel threatened, right? Now you might be asking, Arey bhaiya, threatened by what? What exactly are they threatened with? Why are they creating such narratives? What do they feel threatened with? Well, I'll tell you exactly what they're threatened with. And I'll read it out from the article right here. So in the article, in the last paragraph, they shared a quote. They shared a quote from this professor. His name is Paramjit Singh Judge. So according to Paramjit Singh Judge, a professor of sociology at the Guru Nanak Dev University in Amritsar, such Hindutva nationalism subsumes the story of caste and class because of the role it plays in politics. Nationalism has a functional role to play in electoral politics. For instance, the Bharatiya Janata Party knows that Dalits are not inclined to it. And this last sentence is very, very important. He's saying that the Bharatiya Janata Party knows that Dalits are not inclined to it. And that is why they're using the Dalits and sending them to the killing fields to get murdered. But this last line is completely and utterly untrue. It's completely and utterly untrue because there was a survey done by Lokniti CSDS, and there was a book written called The Rise of the Second Dominant Party System in India, BJP's New Social Coalition in 2019. It was written by researchers Rahul Verma and Pradeep Chibbar. In this research, they have found that the BJP has substantially increased its support base among rural, poor, and lower caste voters. The rise of the BJP is not an upper caste phenomenon, nor an example of Brahmin lash, where the privileged upper caste angered from the rise of lower caste voted for the BJP. Using the NES 2019 data, the researchers created 5 kinds of BJP voters: upper caste, OBC, SC, ST, and others. The paper shows that the party has substantially increased its support base among rural, poor, and lower caste voters. While the party is often dubbed as anti-Muslim, BJP has also shown a marginal increase in the Muslim support base, right? And it's better explained over here in these graphs as well. This is from Nonsensical Nemo on Twitter. BJP has increased its vote share among every single class, but most among the poorest. So among the poorest, among the SC, ST classes, which Caravan is saying that the SC, STs and the poor people do not vote for Modi. In fact, it was the SC, STs, it were the poor classes who saw the biggest increase in vote share in voting for the BJP. This is the reality, and this is what makes them extremely nervous. It makes them extremely nervous because if I go back to that Swarajya article, another thing that they found in their research was that there is a pan-Hindu unity emerging. Rahul Verma said that the BJP social base has now become broad-based and it mirrors the Hindu society as well. And this is the part that really scares the shit out of them. Because slowly and steadily, a pan-Indian, pan-cultural, pan-India cultural consolidation is happening. It's getting harder to divide Indians on the basis of caste. A pan-Hindu identity is emerging. If that consolidation continues to happen, then all of these organizations like Caravan, all these journalists who make their living by exploiting societal divisions within Indians, particularly within Hindu society, भैया उनका तो काम ही खत्म हो जाएगा. काम क्या करेंगे वो? They'll be completely out of work. What will they do? Then they'll have to do actual journalism. Their entire cottage industry will collapse. Because if Indians stop caring about caste and place their culture, place their civilization, place their country above their caste, that's obviously a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing for India. But it's a horrible thing for people like the Caravan. It's a horrible thing for Arfa Khanum. It's a horrible thing for Ravish Kumar. It's a horrible thing for that entire bloody Lutyens cottage industry. उनका तो पूरा का पूरा business model ही collapse कर जाएगा. Their entire raison d'etre is going to die. So I hope, my personal hope, is that this kind of consolidation happens even more. And this kind of consolidation leads to a natural extinction of these dinosaurs like the Caravan. And they are dinosaurs. They are from another time. They are from a time where Hindu society could very easily be divided. And so that's why I call them dinosaurs. And that's why I believe that hopefully these dinosaurs will go extinct on their own as societal consolidation keeps happening in India. So I hope you guys agree as well, and I hope this is a moment of great pride for India. This is a issue of great pride that this kind of societal consolidation is actually happening. So what I'm going to do before I wrap up, guys, I'm going to take a few questions before I get out of here. I know that some of you guys had sent me some super chats, so I'm going to take those super chats really quickly as well. Let's see if we have the questions over here. All right. There's a very good point here from Sriram Prasanna Arikapalli. Sriram says there should be a slab at Ram Mandir with names of all the people who died for the Ram Mandir. I think that's a very good point. I think that the committee that is in charge of building the Ram Mandir, they should definitely be making sure that the names of the people who gave up their lives during the Ram Mandir movement, their names are either carved on the Ram Mandir or there is a slab where all the names are mentioned. I think that's a fantastic idea. K. Pankaj S. Ranawat says scattered random violence so Hindus won't retaliate. I don't want the Hindus to retaliate. All right, that's not the country that we want to live in. Right, we don't want to live in a country where we're in a constant state of civil war. We want to live in a country where the law and order mechanism is such that A, it can prevent such violence, and B, when such violence happens, immediately the culprits are caught and they're punished. That's what we want to see. That's what I want to see. I don't want the civilians to be out on the streets, bloody fighting each other in the streets. ये कोई सोमालिया थोड़ी है यार, ये इंडिया है. I want a better system of law and order so these things can be curbed and curtailed. All right, let's see what. Sahil Chikara, why Indian liberals are always favor selective community. They always favor the inconvenient community because, again, the point that I mentioned recently, Sahil, कि यार इनका खाना पानी, इनकी पूरी जिंदगी चलती है divisiveness पे. If Indian society can be divided into different chunks and different parts, then these people can continue to make money. These people can continue to be millionaires. People can continue to go to these fancy cocktail parties, champagne parties in Lutyens, Delhi. Society consolidate होने लगेगी तो इनका तो सारा industry collapse हो जाएगी. That is why. That's the reason. Anish is saying the left can just as easily claim that those on the right don't speak about left journalists being arrested. It's impossible to care for everyone. It is. You're right. That's a good point. It is impossible. But I don't think that the right don't ever speak about the left journalists being arrested. I spoke out about Munawar Farooqi's arrest. I said that I don't agree with Munawar Farooqi's arrest. I've spoken about earlier as well when the who was it? Some group that had attacked the director of Padmavat. Whichever group it was, I forgot the name of that group. But that group, when they had attacked the director of Padmavat or the crew of Padmavat, and they were causing violence and they were causing becoming a nuisance. I had spoken up about it. Ki ye kyun kar rahe ho? You're attacking people just for expressing themselves. You're attacking people just for creating a bloody movie. You make a movie. If you don't like Sanjay Leela Bhansali's movie, then you make a movie. But Hindu koi gareeb thodi hai. Hindus have a lot of money. Pool your money together, get some big industrialists to fund your movie, and make your own movie. I've spoken up about it. I don't think it's completely impossible. It's impossible to care for every single case, yeah. But it's not completely impossible to speak out for both sides. But the left does not do that. The left does not do that almost as a rule. Poonam Abbi asked Ajaz Ashraf why no one of the blown up are ever from his community. Exactly. That's the point that I was making, Poonam, as well. Uttam Basu Matri, pick off Dip with Modi ji and SD. Who is Dip? Who is Modi ji and who is SD? SD kaun hai bhai? Who are you talking about? I don't know who Dip is. Are you talking about anybody in particular? And who is SD? Can somebody make it a little bit clearer? Who is Dip and who is SD? I'm not entirely sure. Let's see if we have any questions from the Discord as well. I'm going to take a couple of Discord. Arjun says, shouldn't we be trending big police reforms in order to let the government know that it's about time we put an end to these horrific incidents? Yeah, 100%. Deep Sidhu Sunny Deol. Deep Sidhu Sunny Deol. Are bhaiya, BJP was in coalition with, what's their name? Shiromani Akali Dal. Shiromani Akali Dal, if you don't remember, was one of the premier parties during the Khalistani movement, during the Khalistani insurgency. It was only later that they decided that they decided कि भैया खालिस्तान तो अब मिलने से रहा, तो it's better that we align ourselves with the BJP against the Congress because the Congress seems to be the biggest threat to us in Punjab, right? So the BJP, is it opportunist? Absolutely, it is opportunist. Is the BJP Khalistani? Absolutely no. No way. Modi is not a Khalistani. BJP is not a Khalistani. Sunny Deol is not a Khalistani. They have been opportunists. That's what they did with the PDP as well in Kashmir. Remember, PDP के साथ भी उन्होंने एक alliance बनाई थी, which was extremely opportunistic. It was to gain a foothold in Kashmir. And that's what they did with Shiromani Akali Dal as well, to gain a foothold in Kashmir. That doesn't mean that they're Khalistanis. It means that they're opportunists, just like every other goddamn party out there. All right. Yeah, and as far as Arjun, your comment goes about bringing in police reforms, that is the absolute biggest necessity of the day, in my opinion. In my opinion, the biggest way to curb these kinds of incidents, the biggest way to curb these riots, curb street violence, is to bring in police reform, is to make sure that the government is the only entity that has the monopoly on violence. That is the only way that we can solve these kinds of low-level violence and problems. Anish says, I feel like the print media on the left can often get away without posting sources and citations to their claims because they've developed an image of integrity. Do you folks think that there is a market for an entity that exists solely to fact check media outlets on their numbers? Dude, that's a very good point, Anish, because I have seen that with so many left-wing outlets, especially like the US-based ones. In the US, that Hassan Minhaj video, completely devoid of, when he made a video about Indian elections, completely devoid of any fact checking, completely devoid of any credible sources or any proper links. Video that Mehdi Hassan made, it was horrible. Usme to koi source hi provide nahi kiye the. The video that Trevor Noah made, again, it was terrible. No sources provided, no proof provided, nothing to back up the wide sweeping statements that he was making against India and against India's political leaders. So I think there is a need for an organization that just does this. It's like an Indian non-left version of Snopes that fact checks these people. I think that's a fantastic idea. I think there is an organization out there called facthunt.in. They do a little bit of stuff like that where they fact check like various left-wing accounts and things like that. But that's the only one that I can really think of. I can't really think of anybody else that does that, but that's a very good idea. If anybody wants to create like a Snopes or like a fact checker from the non-left, which fact checks, all these left-wing accounts, I think that's a fantastic idea. Anybody wants to do that, you have my full support. Go right ahead. Well, guys, I think that is it for all the questions that we have for us today that were asked. Let me see. Kapil Gund says link between PJF, SFJ and toolkit has to be proven first. If people like Ravi get out of jail because of insufficient evidence, they will be called heroes. That's another thing. That's what I was saying in the video that I put out today as well, Kapil, that if the police has evidence, the only reason that the police should be arresting someone is if they have, solid evidence to hold them, solid evidence to arrest them. If the police has solid evidence, I'm guessing that's why they have arrested them. So if the police has that evidence, jaldi se jaldi wo evidence nikalo aur jaldi se jaldi wo evidence logon ke samne provide karo. Kyunki agar tumhare paas evidence nahi hai, if she gets let out, then you're going to have egg on your face, and then you're going to make a hero of a complete buffoon, because that is what that person is, a complete buffoon. But the right wing and the non-left had made it a habit of creating heroes out of buffoons. You're creating a hero out of an idiot like Munawar Farooqi. And this situation also has a potential that if you do not prove the charges correctly, if you do not bring the charges correctly, then it has the potential to create a hero out of a complete and utter buffoon. So please, I hope the police does not mess this up. All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching today's video. I hope I got to everybody's questions. I appreciate you guys watching this long form as well. If you like this long form video, guys, if you like this live format where I come and I talk about some issue and I interact with you guys in the chat as well, if you like this format, let me know, and I'll continue to do more videos like this as well. I'm going to be having some guests on in the future to do some more interviews like I used to do in the past. I haven't done a lot of these recently, but I want to continue to do more of these going forward as well. I've got 2 or 3 very interesting ones lined up in the next couple of weeks, so keep an eye out for that. We also have a Discord server that we have now opened to the general public. So if you guys want to join the general Discord server, the Patreon Discord server is still separate, where if you become a supporter on the Patreon, then you can ask me questions for the show, then you can participate in research sessions, then you can talk to other patrons as well. But I've also opened a different general server. So if you'd like to join the general server of the Discord, I will leave the link in the comment section in the description of the video over here as well, so you can join it over there. Other than that, guys, I appreciate you enjoying this format. Meme review will happen, Rohit, on the Thursday podcast. On Thursday, me, Kushal, and Abhijit, we're going to get together and we're going to do the meme review. All right. Open Letter, yes, I'll be happy to get him on as well. No issues. Happy to talk to Open Letter as well. So again, guys, thank you very much for watching. I will see you on Thursday for the podcast with me, Kushal, and Abhijit, and of course for the meme review. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. And again, my shat pranam to the martyrs of Pulwama. And I will see you guys next time. And until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you soon.